So welcome. So today we're focusing on you get a job, and now what do you do? So say congratulations, you now have your first job, your internship. You might have a first job coming up, whatever, right? But something coming up that you need to build experience in and that you're wanting to show your professionalism in. So what are you going to do to maximize your opportunity? So let's take a second and brainstorm a bit. So in 1 or 2 years, if someone were to ask your new boss to recommend someone for a promotion, what do you think they would be looking for?
Communication.
Communication? Yeah. What else? Teamwork? Okay. Okay. What do you mean by that?
Demonstrated ability to grow.
Oh, nice. Okay. Man, you got good definitions. Okay. Good. Well, yeah, I think all those things. We're done. We're awesome. So we'll touch on some of those and a few more as we go. But for me, and this is pretty much just a list of all the things that I could think of, plus some that we found online and some other advice that we could get. So, do you have goals or are you goal driven? So, when you very first start out, you need to research what is the next step in your job. Okay. So if you're going for an internship, what's the next step in getting the full-time job? Or if you're already in the full-time job, what's the next step above your entry level and so on? So you're trying to figure out what are those opportunities that you need? What are the skills that we're looking for? And then how do you go about building those? So starting to seek out those next steps in building that experience up. You need to have goals because they help you to stay focused and motivated instead of just kind of plodding your way along. If you have goals along the way, keeps you going towards something, not just falling into an everyday routine, but actually striving towards something. You want to make sure that your goals are smart. And I'm sure everybody's probably seen this multiple times now. And I've now noticed that there are a couple of different ways to spell out smart, or not to spell out smart, but to make up the words. But they all come around to the same thing, basically. So specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. So have some specific goals that you want to accomplish. And it doesn't have to be that you're going to get a promotion in a year or 2 years, but more you want to meet a certain amount of people, or you want to know the structure, or you want to work with another office on collaborating or something like that, right? Some goals that are very specific that will help you to expand your career goals. You do want them to be measurable, so something that you can tick a box off and say, yes, I've done that. Attainable, so definitely not going to be like the president of the company within a year. Something realistic. Relevant to what you're actually doing, and timely, so time bound. So it also allows you to provide metrics to measure your performance. You want to have some metrics to measure your performance, and then you can adapt accordingly. So you adapt those metrics as you go according to what the job wants, not just what you're interested in, but what the job itself is looking for, and based on other people's feedback. Also, giving yourself metrics helps when it comes time for annual review. So everybody has annual reviews or something along those lines where they're going to come back and look at your performance. So if you keep track and you actually have some of those things just kind of ready, it's a lot easier to fill out that information. Usually there's some sort of form where they're asking, what did you accomplish? And you can actually list out what you accomplished. And just like your resume, it helps if they're quantifiable. Things that you can actually show you made a difference somehow in the numbers, right? In a good way. And it's also just good to challenge yourself. Keep yourself going towards something. Again, not just plodding along, but actually going towards something. And when you challenge yourself, it also makes you stand out because other people can see that you're striving towards something better. Another question that I would ask as the employer is, do you understand the company or the employer? Okay. So one of the first things you want to definitely try to establish is, what is the culture of the company? What does it look like? What do they do? What do they go after? How do they all fit together? How do they all work together? Just what is the general culture of the company, and how can you fit within that culture? You need to understand the stated and unstated goals of the company. So there's definitely the stated goals, which are like the mission or whatever that could be, and that's important. You want to know that, but there's usually unstated goals too, like we need to earn money or something along those lines, right? So it's knowing both of those stated and unstated goals so that you can frame your work in terms of those goals. And similar to that, understanding the overall organization. So that's more than just the goals. Understand the overall organization. You're actually talking about like the pecking order. So who reports to who, who's the upper management. Um, hello. Um, Kind of just how everything fits together. What are the different departments? How do the different departments work together? Um, you can easily find an org chart, an organizational chart that explains a lot of that. And it's not like you need to be an expert in it, but understanding how those different offices work together gives you a better understanding of how the company works. And that makes you a lot more valuable. Yes, you don't have to raise your hand, you can just ask. Yes, I appreciate that. A lot of the times, so it may be internal on the company website or something like that, or a resource that you can ask for, but a lot of times they'll have an organizational chart and it shows who reports to who. Um, or you can see how just kind of all the offices fit together. So it's usually something you can ask for. Um, if they don't have it, it makes you look like you're at least being proactive, which is good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You do that now. Which those aren't bad either. Giving those little side tasks, that can actually be a beneficial thing. Um, but yeah, even if they don't have an organizational chart, just asking questions that'll help you to understand that. So you know how everybody works together and how it all fits. That makes you a lot more valuable because now you can cross communicate with those different offices, or you know at least who to go to. Um, Within that organizational chart, you want to understand your role in the company and that in that group. How do you fit in the overall machine? Right? As much as we say, don't be a cog in the machine, you're a cog in the machine. Okay, we're all just cogs, but we're important cogs, right? That it's we all serve a part, so it's understanding that part to the fullest. Um, when you understand that part, it allows you to kind of be the best part. That's a bad analogy. That's failing completely. Um, but when you understand what you're supposed to be doing within the company and specifically what your role is supposed to be doing, then you can strive to do that. So you're providing the best service for the next people in the group who rely on you. Okay. And it also allows you to see what are the groups you affect and what you can affect. So who can you get to know better? Who can you get to expand your career, your skills with, or experiences with? Um, so when you understand where you fit in the overall picture, so for example, me, okay, I'm in the bioengineering department. I focus a lot on student success, right? So my role is student success within the bioengineering department. But if I understand all the other organizations on campus that work with student success, that opens up a lot of potential for me, not just using their resources for helping my students, but future career potential, right? So if I do well here, I might go off and do really, really well in the career office or something like that. Okay. So thinking about it that way, it's how can you expand your network from where you are? Okay. Also allows it so if you do see that eventually I do want to become the VP of blah blah blah, and I understand you can kind of plot out a path on how to get there. So strategize. All right. So as you said, another one I want to know is can you work with a team? Are you a team player? Okay. Now, yeah, it's important that you work as an individual, but as we said, we're all kind of cogs in the machine. So you are fitting into a larger organization. So are you making the workplace good or bad? Do people like it when you're there? Do they not like it when you're there? Are they indifferent to when you're there? Um, that really matters. If people don't want to work with you, they're not going to work with you. Are you causing the drama or are you helping to diffuse the situation? Is this all like high school all over again, which it shouldn't be? Or is it actually functioning like a team? So reflect back. Are you causing problems? If like 5 people out of 6 have a problem with you, maybe you are the problem. So just take a real check there. Are you holding up the process of the project, or are you speeding it along? So remembering that you are a cog in the machine, that you are a part of this larger team. People are relying on you to get your part done. So if you don't get it done in a timely way, you're slowing everything down. Yeah? And that's important. Or if you're doing poor work, that also trickles down or trickles up, however you want to look at it. Um, so you have to do your part well in order for everybody else to do their part, and kind of understanding that and making sure that you're striving towards that. And then some of the basics, right? Do you show up on time? Are you prepared? Do you know the relevant information? So when you're showing up for a meeting, do you actually know what you're supposed to be talking about? Have you done the homework ahead of time? Have you researched it ahead of time? And then showing up on time is surprisingly a big deal. Maybe not surprisingly. It shouldn't be surprisingly, but it is. It's a big deal. There's that common saying, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And don't be late or something along those lines. Um, so just this goes back to just being professional. So doing your best to stay as professional as you can. So that's showing up on time, showing up prepared, everything like that. Do people know you? Do people know you for the right reasons? So if they can be like, yes, I know Lucy. Man, I know Lucy. No. Yeah. Or is it, yeah, I know Lucy. She's really helpful, right? That sort of difference, right? It's, you want to be known for the right reasons. So you do want to be known, but for the right reasons. And that just comes from doing good work. People notice that. And again, kind of the last part about being a team player, are you a joiner? Okay. And actually, was pretty neat. I was in a meeting with Dr. Benson the other day through one of the other things I'm participating in. And one of his biggest pieces of advice was be a joiner, which basically means when an opportunity comes up to do something, do it. So if there's an opportunity, back to academics, because that's what I know well, if there's an opportunity for me to serve on a committee or to be a part of a team that's developing this new thing or anything like that, do it, right? That's how people get to know you. That's how people outside of your area also get to know you. So join into those extra things. Don't overextend yourself. It's a problem I might have, but you got to learn also when to say no, but don't, you have to say yes too. Okay? That's how you expand your boundaries. That's how you get to know other people, how you network, how you learn new skills outside of your field is being a joiner. So joining into those other opportunities. Not my job is a phrase that you need to avoid. Yeah. Anytime something comes up that's not your job, it's more along the lines of, well, I don't know that, but let me see how I can help, or let me connect you to the right services or person or something like that. But this comes back to basic customer service and being good customer service, which is you don't just say no, you say no, but let me help you. Okay. So no, I don't know how to do that, but I can learn. Yeah, I don't know how to emphasize that one enough, being a joiner. Otherwise you stay put, you don't move forward. All right, are you networked is something else I would want to know if I'm going to recommend somebody for a promotion. The picture here is because everybody's staring at their phone during lunch, which is, don't do that. Social media and phones have been kind of destructive for this, but you want to get to know your colleagues. So you can get coffee or lunch with people, attend the social hours or the company events. It is good to be social, even if you are an introvert, and it's good to go out occasionally with them. Okay, it's good to get to know them. You're not trying to get like chummy. You're not going to be best friends. I mean, you might, which would be cool. But you at least want to know of each other and know some of the details about their lives. Not like in depth, but oh yeah, they've got like 2 kids and they enjoy kayaking. I don't know, right? Things like that. And getting the coffee, most people enjoy that. It's like a little 10-minute break, or going and grabbing lunch. Attending social hour, that is one of the biggest ways for networking. You don't have to drink. You can always get something else. People tend to be pretty cool. But it is just going out and doing some of those extracurricular things. That's how you get to know people. Okay. That's also when you meet other people that might be outside of your department, which is also really useful. Because social hours tend to attract more than just that core group, which is a good thing. So that's also just a great way to meet other people within the company or anything like that. the company has holiday parties or barbecues or anything like that. Um, I know a lot of TV shows and everything make it sound pretty dorky, but it's still really good to go and just enjoy it. Okay? At the same time, be professional. Don't be the person who gets drunk. That's embarrassing. You don't want to do that. Um, and you don't want to be known as that guy or gal or person or whatever you want to. Yeah, just don't do it. So still be professional. Do be social, but you also have to be productive. You don't want it to take over your life. You're not always just trying to meet and talk with people, but you actually do have to be productive too. So maybe that can be one of your goals is trying to meet and talk with somebody once a week or something along those lines. Just going for coffee, going for lunch, anything like that. It can be really tempting just to eat at your desk. It's good to be able to get out once in a while, not just for networking, but also for your mental health. Just going out and getting out of the office. It's kind of that work-life balance. Fully recommend avoiding gossip and reserve your judgment. So when you first come into a company, there's going to be a lot of gossip. And there's usually a lot of people saying, oh, don't trust that person, or that person's going to backstab, or oh, that person does ungood things, or something like that. Reserve your judgment. Always kind of take it into account, but I would always say reserve your judgment until you've had some experience with the person, right? Because maybe that person's the one that you actually want to be friends with, and the person who's talking is the bad one. So that's always just kind of be careful when you first enter into it, and try to avoid the gossip as much as you possibly can, because that can ruin you. Do ask questions. Do be curious. A lot of people say that the first year is the time that you get to ask a lot of questions and you kind of get a pass on it. I think that you can ask questions a lot of times throughout your career, but when it comes to asking questions about how things are done within the company, that's definitely true because past that first year, you're supposed to start knowing those things. You're supposed to start being the resource. But because people are expecting you to ask questions, do it. This is that other great way to get to know people. So start asking questions, be curious. Obviously, don't pester people, but you still want to kind of learn more about what they're doing, and just how everything works. Still with the networking, know the next step in the hierarchy. So most companies have a pecking order in how it goes with management, upper management, and so on and so forth. Even if a company doesn't have that kind of hierarchy, I don't remember what they call it, but when it's flat organization, flat managerial style, there's a word for it. I don't know. It's gone. Even when they try to remove those boundaries, the steps between manager and employee or anything like that. So even when they try to go for that more flat structure, there is a hierarchy. Okay, it may be an unstated hierarchy, but there's a hierarchy. So get to know the people who are important. Get to know the people who are well networked within the company. The people who are the linchpin to getting things done. Right? The people who are just pivotal for everything. Know them. They're very valuable. Sometimes that person can be an administrative assistant, right? So sometimes it could be some of the not lowest, I don't want to say it like that, but some of the people with the least managerial responsibility who are the best connected. Thank you. Horizontal organization. Yes, I was close. The flat, yeah, I was getting there. But yeah, so definitely, and always treat everybody kindly, especially the administrative assistants and everybody like that. Cafeteria workers, the custodians, because they can be some of the most influential people, surprisingly, sometimes. You wouldn't think necessarily custodians that well connected, but they most definitely can be. Okay, so be kind to everybody and try to figure out that hierarchy, stated and unstated. And seek mentorship. Mentorship comes in multiple ways, and you don't have to have just one mentor. You have multiple mentors for different reasons. So if you're looking for a mentor who can talk to you more specifically about that company, just the person who knows everything about the company, you have one for that. If you have somebody who knows more about how to advance through the company or how to make yourself most professionally visible or things like that, you can talk to them. So it's have multiple mentors, but seek out that mentorship. And that goes throughout your entire career. That doesn't ever go away. You're always going to have mentors. You always want to have mentors. Similarly, as you start getting up there, it's good to have mentees. So maybe that's not a first year thing, but something to kind of strive for is paying it back, paying it forward, advising other people too. So yeah, mentoring and menteeing, that's another new word. Great way to expand that network. And the last one I would point out is to have a good relationship with clients. And clients can mean many different things. So you may be in a consulting company where you actually have clients, or someplace that you're actually doing sales or something like that. Obviously, you want to have good relationships there, but you also have clients within companies too, your internal clients. So that's the person that you're delivering to, what your work is going to help next. So you don't need to be, again, best friends, but it's good to have that relationship with the clients. And many times, especially if you're in a consultant company, when you leave, the clients will want to either hire you or follow you. So that's why it's good to have that relationship. Sometimes there's clauses within those companies they can't, but you want to build that up. Many times with consultants, the Rolodex is one of the most expensive parts that they have. So that's their list of clients, the people who know them and know that they do good work, right? So if that person leaves the company, all those clients could potentially follow them. So that's dangerous to the company, but great for you. So have a good relationship there with your clients. I would also want to know, do you know the workplace? Again, in multiple ways. So do you know the physical workspace? Do you know where the coffee machine is? Do you know where the copy machine is? Do you know where the supplies are? So those are all some minor things, but they're good. Beyond that, you also want to know the physical space, as in where's manufacturing happening, right? Where are the people who take care of budgeting? So just kind of knowing where these general offices are located. Or if you're part of a more global company, knowing where the locations are around the country and around the world, right? So again, you don't have to do an in-depth, broad, study of all this, but kind of having that general idea, oh, we have an office in Argentina, right? Or something like that, can be very useful. Know the social setting too. So this also comes back to knowing that culture and everything like that. But the social setting, who gets along with who doesn't get along with who, even if you're not participating in the gossip and you're not trying to participate in the office politics, know of the office politics so you can steer clear of them. There's politics everywhere. It's unavoidable, but know about them. Don't participate, just know of them so you can avoid them. That make sense? Okay. Pretty much anytime there's two or more people, there's politics. So sometimes it's really bad, sometimes it's not bad at all. Just know about it. Okay, so understand the optics of the company and work within them. Optics can mean multiple things in this case. What would be the dress code for the company? How do they like to appear? What is the most important things to them on what their employees are showing out, right? What they're demonstrating. So I'll explain that better. Google. I would not expect to go to Google and find a lot of people wearing suits. Okay. That's not what they value the most. The optics there is more the expertise to me. Okay. So as long as I have my expertise and I can demonstrate it, I think I'm more golden. I can show up wearing Birkenstocks and shorts or something like that. As opposed to if I go to like a big bank or something like that, then I'm going to need to look really polished. I'm going to need to wear the suit, whatever. And I'm going to need to speak the lingo that they do. So knowing all those different things, how you're supposed to appear, and then working with them. That's not to say you can't be an individual. You can be an individual for sure. You just have to do it within their optics. So if I like to have a lot of tattoos and I have long hair and everything like that, and I work for the big bank, I would want to make sure that I keep my hair very clean, tied back, not even tied back, but stylized. I don't want to take care of my look, right? That I want to actually show that my look matters to me. That I think would be more important. So you can work within the boundaries of having a professional appearance. Does that make sense? Okay, you sure? Okay. All right. Know the company's brand as well. So what does the company want to look like? Not just what their optics are, but what they are striving to look like. So if they are striving to be the leading engineering company in the world, then you're striving for that too. And that's what you help promote. Okay, so know the brand, help promote it. You need to know the dynamics in the workplace. So does it prefer working with teams or working with individuals? What's the vibe there? And maybe that's probably the better way to describe that is know the vibe of the company. Is everybody very social, or they tend to be not very social? Everybody kind of works on their own, and maybe you see them at the coffee pot, but you don't really talk that much aside from the weather. Okay. Is it very competitive, or is it very collaborative? Is everybody out to get each other, or are they actually working together in a cohesive manner? So understand all the dynamics that are going on there. And it's not always necessarily working within them, but working around them. Yeah, so doing your best to know them. If you know the dynamics, you can work around them, right? In a good way, not like you're trying to cheat. Yeah. Okay. One of the biggest things, are you coachable? And I didn't know how to emphasize this, so that's what the little asterisks and the underline are supposed to be. That's emphasis. Be coachable. It's one of the most important things, period. Okay. All that other stuff is important, but being coachable is so valuable. It is one of the things that people most definitely look for. And when you ask for feedback from recruiters or from managers or anything like that, and it's one of the most valuable skills, coachable. Okay. So you have to understand you are new, they are experienced, and you will always have room for improvement. So even if you think you did the most perfect job, they may have experience that's saying otherwise. You need to listen to their experience and accept it. Okay? Accept it and adapt. So this can be hard for some students. Actually, this can be hard for people, period. I'm not even going to say students. I shouldn't say students. It can be hard for people, period, because if you are so used to always being the expert or so used to always being the top of your class and everything like that, and now you're receiving feedback that you need to do this thing that you thought you did really well a different way, that can be hard for people. A lot of times they'll want to argue with it. You don't want to argue it. Okay. You want to understand it better, yes, but you don't necessarily want to argue it. It's not a denial. It's understanding why are people perceiving you this particular way, or why are they perceiving your work this particular way, and then adjusting. Okay. So along those lines, analyze feedback, determine the root issues, Adam, and then work to address it. Okay. Everybody has improvements to make. That's normal. So it's that you want to be working on those improvements, that you want to be actually improving those improvements. Okay. And analyzing the feedback, people don't always know how to give feedback. Managers don't always know how to give feedback. In fact, some of them are quite poor at it. So it's really kind of listening beyond what they're saying and getting at the root of it. Okay. I wish I could think of a good example off the top of my head. I should have had one. People saying that you're unprepared with examples. Okay. So, in analyzing your feedback, you're saying I'm unprepared with examples, but the root issue there isn't that I'm unprepared with examples. It's that I hadn't fully fleshed out everything I needed for the presentation. Okay. If I had done a very, very good job preparing for this, those examples would have been done already. Okay. And then I would need to work to address that. So knowing in future presentations that I'm lacking examples, I would want to prepare them, which I probably won't because I'm bad at this. But you know, not that I'm bad at it. It's not even a problem of being bad at it. Just to get real here, it's the amount of time that I have for it. But you know, it's okay. It'll come. All right. But yes, be coachable for sure. Ask lots of questions. When it comes to feedback, asking questions with feedback can be challenging. You don't want to be coming across as being defensive. You don't want to be like, oh, I have examples. Why do I need more examples? No, that's bad, right? It's like, oh, what do you mean? What kind of examples should I be coming up with? How many examples should I have prepared? You know, kind of fleshing it out more, figuring out exactly what it is that they mean. It's okay to do that. It's good to do that. Okay. There are times it's not okay to do that. Usually you can tell. I think the key thing here is to approach it from the point of wanting to understand to do better. Okay. Most of the time, if you come with that perspective that you're trying to understand the feedback, trying to understand the criticism or whatever so that you can improve, most people will appreciate that and help you improve. Okay. If somebody's really mad at you and screaming and yelling, it's probably not the best time to do it. Might be better to come back. Hopefully you don't have that situation. um, and then the other thing with being coachable, you want to stay positive and open-minded. And it can be hard to stay positive when you're receiving feedback. Okay. If it feels like all you're doing is getting the bad things or all you're doing is getting criticism, it's hard to stay positive with that. But you want to. Okay. You still want to keep in mind that you are trying to improve yourself and be open to all of it. Okay. I include this picture because I thought it was kind of funny. I mean, the points are good, right? You want to actively pursue self-development. You want to be humble enough to learn, seek the coaching from many people, look for coaching relationships, not transactions. Do you know what I mean by that? Not transactional. So when you're looking for coaching relationships, that's when you actually can sit down with somebody and they're taking more of an interest in you. Okay. It's not like you just asked me for feedback, so I'm trying to give you something so you'll leave me alone. Okay. So transactional is more that, yeah, you could write this a little bit better. Maybe if you got rid of the comma or added something there. The coaching relationship comes more with that explanation of, well, you could write this better this way by eliminating this comma, and that's why. So it is more the coaching rather than just providing that straight feedback. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Demand follow through. I actually don't know what they mean there. Demand follow through of yourself. I think that's what I'm going to go with on that one. You need to follow through if you're being coachable. So demand follow through of yourself. It's really hard to demand follow through from other people when it comes to you being coachable. So I think that's definitely meant towards you. But I think the picture's good, right? We just have the lady, look, a ladder. And then you have the guy, that's interesting. That is a ladder, right? But that's the ideas are good. Okay. Coachable, be coachable, really important. Okay. I thought I saw a question there, but I did not. So another thing that I would ask if I'm looking to give you a promotion or recommend someone for a promotion is, how is your performance? Which you would have thought this would have been one of the earlier things that we do. But there's just a lot of important stuff. So do you do good work? Right? What makes good work? What do you think makes good work? Reliability? What way?
That you always get things done on time.
Okay, you're consistent, you get things done on time. What else would be good work?
High quality.
High quality, what do you mean by high quality?
Like you're trying to get in on time, but it should also be like you don't want it to like be missing like big things, I guess.
Yeah, and you want it to be right. Should you always strive for perfection? Kind of funny that I don't have a comma after that, or a quote question mark after that. Should you always strive for perfection though?
Yes.
Okay, why?
Because you might not always get it, but you should always try. Because what's the point of doing your job otherwise?
Okay, but what if striving for perfection slows you down on something that was supposed to be quick? I guess it's more, is it okay to be quick and dirty sometimes? I think it depends on the task itself and why they're asking for it. So I think it also comes down to doing good work. You can do good work and not strive for perfection. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can still try to get it right. You still get it right. You still do it on time, but maybe you don't have every single dot over every single I or every single T crossed or whatever the cliche is, right? It's part of it is also knowing when it's okay to do that. Okay. And you get that sense from the culture, you get that sense from experience of being in the company. So you strive for perfection at the beginning, but then you start to see where people place those values. Okay. Know the end goals of your work. That one seems pretty obvious, but it's not always. Sometimes you get lost in the weeds pretty easily. An experience of my own that I had a couple of years ago, one of the goals that we were striving for was recruiting graduate students. And I got super focused on developing these flyers to help recruit graduate students to the point where I kind of lost the overall goal and was really focused on getting these flyers done just right. Okay. But that wasn't the job. The job wasn't the flyers. It was just recruiting, period. Okay. So I spent more time doing this one thing than I should have for the entire goal. So it's just kind of understand the end goals and keep it in mind. Learn the priorities and prioritize accordingly. That comes back to when can you do things kind of quick and dirty and when does it need to be spotless. And then how do you shift things around in your schedule to meet the priorities? And then adapt to work life from school life. So this comes back to that always striving for perfection. Um, this one's not as much striving for perfection as the people who don't strive for perfection. So in school life, a C is passing, right? Get a C, it's okay. Work life, a C is not always passing. You need to be able to get it right. You need to do more than the bare minimum, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Especially if you want to advance. Doing the bare minimum will keep your job, but you won't advance in your job. So you're striving for more than just the bare minimum. So the adapting to work life from school life, that's not necessarily for everyone who's got like the 4.0 average and everything like that. Actually, yeah, it is. I take it back because then you're too much of a perfectionist and you need to calm down. But figuring out that happy balance. So definitely being open, be coachable, understand the work life, understand what their goals are because they are completely different from your academic goals. Okay. You're not going for the grade, you're going for the product or the process or whatever service you're offering or anything like that now. But that is the end goal, not the grade, but is the customer satisfied. Okay. Be multilingual. I don't mean actual languages, although it's good too. Definitely multilingual is good. But this is more being able to talk to the different organizations within your company or the different offices within your company, I should say. And this is one of the great things about being the biomedical engineer is that we are good at being multilingual. Okay? You're good at taking it from the biology, talking to the electrical engineers. You're good at kind of focusing on what that audience wants to hear and giving it to them. Okay? What academics tend to not be is multilingual. We're not always great at researchers, I should say. We like to go into the details. We like to explain why this thing is really cool and go into the details and talk about, oh man, I had to come up with this really neat algorithm to get this thing done. And look at all these variables I had to include and how it's like perfect and it does all. They don't care. They just want to know that it works, right? They trust me to do my job. They just want to see the output. So it's knowing that. And they, in this case, being like your manager or something like that. Okay. Being able to pick who they are, the audience, and adapting. Yeah, so that's what I mean by being multilingual. And knowing your limits. Know when you're getting too stretched then. Okay? Know when you're trying to overcommit, right? You definitely need to push yourself. You definitely want to kind of go beyond your comfort zones, but you also have to know when you're about to break. That's not good. Okay? As you said, be reliable. So reliable for me in this case was show up to work on time and show up to work. If somebody asks you to do something and you commit to it, get it done. So that reliability of, yes, I've said it's going to happen. It has to happen. Like it has to get done. Okay. And if you can't communicate, so on. Right. That's the other huge one. I should have underlined it and put stars. But that's the huge one that people will give feedback on, saying that's one of the most important things they look for is your ability to communicate. Communication means a lot of different things. So combining that back with being reliable and knowing your limits, you have to be able to communicate those limits. You have to be able to communicate if a project is starting to fall behind, if you need more resources, if you don't have all the expertise you need to, where you are on schedule. People really appreciate knowing where you are and getting things done. So being able to communicate up to your manager with that. So communication in all sorts of different ways. Just keeping people informed. Most managers don't like if you're late on something, but they really don't like it if they don't find out until the last minute. Okay. So letting them know ahead of time, they can actually try to help you. Right? They can come up with a different deadline. They can come up with different resources, whatever. But communicating early is good. So communicate. My last one that I would really always check for, and this is well beyond the first year. This is for any employee. or any professional, are you self-aware? Okay. What do we mean? What do I mean by self-awareness? What do you think is self-awareness? Oh, I guess there is a definition there. Yeah. Conscious knowledge of one's own character, feelings, motives, and desires. Yeah. Okay. Um, yes. Darn. That's all right. I actually don't like this picture. Okay. Reason I don't like this picture is because if you are conscious, if you have conscious knowledge of your own character, feelings, motives, and desires, it means you have a realistic picture of yourself. Okay. This is delusional. All right. It's not bad to strive to be the lion, but you also need to have a realistic view of what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. If you don't know your weaknesses, how can you adapt to them? Right? How can you start building up on them? So you have to keep all of that in mind. So it's definitely a good understanding of just who you are and what you are. The good and the bad, for sure. So don't like the picture. That's why I included it. I forgot I had the definition. Okay. Self-awareness, I think, also includes, are you emotionally intelligent? Okay. Emotionally intelligent is being able to recognize emotions in others, right? Not just others, but I mean, that does come back to self-awareness too, but it goes beyond that. So it's, can you recognize emotions with other people? Can you empathize? Can you put yourself in their shoes, see how it's coming? That makes a big difference if you can do that with other people. If you can take their perspective, that means that you can see what their goals are. That helps to make you a negotiating genius. Okay. If you can see things from their side and understand what is important to them and what they don't want to give up, that makes it a lot easier to work with them. Okay? Not just knowing your own goals, but knowing their goals. So definitely do that. Are you culturally aware, or are you just making everybody mad because you keep saying offensive things, right? Or are you respecting other people's cultures? Everything along those lines. It's not that you need to be a cultural expert. You don't need to like fully delve and know languages and all this other stuff, but more just being able to recognize what's going on there. Okay. So for knowing right now that it's Ramadan and recognizing that Muslims are fasting during the day, and that's pretty hard. Maybe not having a giant piece of cake or something right in front of them at that time, which I know it's okay, it's supposed to be okay, but still, it's just kind of culturally aware, being okay with it, right? Being nice. Do you approach all of your coworkers with an open mind? Again, this is just realizing everybody's different. Everybody has different political views. Everybody has different social views. Everybody's different. So treating them with respect on that, even if their view is completely different than yours, having an open mind about it. It's really hard. One of the best things about living in Washington, D.C. when I lived there was that it's a highly politically divided city, right? Republicans, Democrats, anything in between, right? And when you get into politics, they can have very strong disagreements about it. But for the most part, when you actually engage in a conversation with somebody else, they can respect who you are and they will try to see your point. Okay. I actually really enjoyed that because there's people completely different from me who I have good conversations with. And it's because you respect each other's point of view. You're not just putting it down thinking, nope, you're wrong, you're an idiot, right? It's actually listening to it and trying to understand it. So that's how you want to be with most of your coworkers. Come with that open mind, try to understand them. You'll find you get along a lot better and you get a lot further in life. I feel like I'm preaching now. Okay. Definitely with your self-awareness, evaluate your work and your projects. So what went well, what went poorly, what can work well for the next time, or what can you work on for the next time? My kids are in Scouts, and one of the things that we do after every single camp out is called Thorns, Roses, and Buds. Thorns is what didn't go well, right? Oh, geez, I forgot to pack a tent. That sucks. What went well? Well, I forgot my tent, but I remembered to bring all my winter gear because it was cold out. I don't know. What can you work on for next time? Having a packing list, right? So just kind of giving even that most basic analysis helps for the next project, helps you to improve. Okay. Do you conduct periodic self-assessments and self-reflections? So we've talked about assessments in the past. These are these job assessments that you can do, the career assessments. You don't need to be doing them every month, but every couple of years, if you go back and retake a career assessment, it can kind of help you to be aware of who you are, where your interests are, if they're shifting. that sort of thing. And being self-reflective. So just occasionally sitting back, maybe have a glass of wine or something, but sitting back and just kind of reflecting upon yourself, like, how are things going, right? How am I doing? How are things working out? Just kind of checking in on yourself, right? That self-reflection is. And then seek feedback. So part of being self-aware is wanting feedback from other people. It can be really easy, especially to develop imposter syndrome. Very much when you're brand new to a job. Imposter syndrome goes throughout your life. You're not going to get rid of it, but you're most vulnerable to it usually when you start brand new in a job or brand new in something, right? Because you often feel like you don't belong there, that you just got in there on a fluke or whatever. So seeking feedback can help to counter that imposter syndrome. Don't get yourself wound up on thinking that you're doing a terrible job or anything like that, unless you have evidence. So seek that feedback. And this isn't that you're asking your manager, how am I doing every single day or anything like that. But every once in a while, just check in with them. You know, you just give a major report to somebody who you are in a fairly good relationship with. It's like, hey, I do pretty good on that. Can it be improved? Anything like that sort of stuff. Okay. Any questions or comments, or did I forget anything? You're the one who's supposed to be giving the talk. Don't you know that? Hmm. How do you know when you've asked too many questions of people? Let me think on that for just a second. Because there's definitely a point. I think it depends on the questions you're asking. Okay? When you're asking questions, have you tried to look them up yourself? That's probably the bigger thing. So it's not that you're asking a lot of questions necessarily. It's are you asking questions that you could have figured out on your own? Okay, because that really annoys people. You could have just looked it up. You're being lazy. Yeah, I think that would be the big distinction for me. Are you wasting my time by asking me these questions, or is it something that you actually need help with? Yeah, you're just talking about general questions, right? Yeah, I think that's my biggest one right there. Is if it's something you can figure out for yourself, then that's too much. If it's something that you made a genuine effort to figure out, then you can ask, and you should ask. If you kind of hit a roadblock. It also does depend somewhat on your manager or the person that you're working with. Some don't want you to spend your time looking up all these different answers, and they would rather you ask the question. So you do kind of get a feel for it. For the most part, though, try to figure it out on your own. And if you can't figure it out, yeah, some help. Yeah. I think that does come with getting to know the culture. It does, for sure. Yeah. Yes. Not a very satisfactory answer to myself, but yes, I think that's it. Probably should add the disclaimer. This is all my opinion. This doesn't belong to the university or anything like that. And special thanks to Serena Tran for helping me put all this together. Yeah, she helped collect a lot of it. Yes. Yep, student worker. Does good work. Other questions? Clarifications? I did. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording it. Nope, not breakout rooms. Dang it.